Hey, how you doing? This is John, and welcome to John's Long Box. I'm here with David Taylor. How you doing, David?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I like talking to people about comic books. And and speaking of comic books, you right out of the gate, I start fumbling. You have a comic campaign coming up, right?
It's out now. It's live now. It's on Kickstarter right now. Yes.
All right. You know what? I'm going to bring it up, and you tell us about it while I bring it up.
Okay.
All right. There we go. This is your campaign. This is the Z Normals.
The Z Normals. That's right. That's right. So a Z Normal is a statistical term. It's a table that you use to basically figure out what the median of anything is and measure all the deviations.
Oh, it's a real term in statistics?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And you use it to measure all the deviations from the norm. So I use it in the context of these are all people with challenges. And how far can you go in any direction in deviating from the normal? That's why it's called Z Normals.
Oh, is it like a statistical difference or something?
No, it's
okay. It shows you how much I know about statistics.
No, it's again, when you take any group, you measure to find out what the median is, what the most common thing is, and then you measure how far the other data is from what turns out to be the median.
Okay.
So in this context, it means how far from the median can we go, and are we still normal?
Oh, I gotcha.
That's why it's called Z Normals. And the tagline is, what if you could turn pain into powers?
Okay.
And so each character on the team has a different challenge. So some were born with challenges, some had accidents, some contracted diseases. But what if somebody showed you that you could turn that pain into superpowers? And what if that somebody was the mafia?
Oh, God.
Yeah, see, that's the look I get. Every time I say that, I get that look. And so
this sounds pretty dark.
Yeah, so the story is about people with challenges of different kinds, and they get that pain turned into superpowers, but it's by the guy you see on the screen there, Don Costella. And so he's the mob boss. Okay. And he's got some scientists working for him and all that. So yeah, so that's the idea.
Is it cool if I play the trailer?
Sure, go ahead.
Or when I say is it cool, am I going to get copyright strike or any nudity or anything like that?
No. Okay. Nothing like that.
I just got to ask, protect my channel. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is going to make this big. Second thing I'm going to do is hit play and then make that.
What's up, y'all? I'm David Taylor II, founder of Nucleus Comics, where comics are born. Thanks to my father, I got introduced to comic books at 4 years old, so I'm a lifer. I love them then and I love them now. I wrote my first comic script at 5 years of age, and so I definitely want to share those stories with you. What we're talking about today is my most recent story, and it's about a team called the Z Normals. Everybody has challenges, obstacles, disadvantages, and most definitely pain. Well, what if you could turn your pain into powers? And what if the people that taught you how to do that was the mafia? The Z Normals team finds themselves caught up in a territory war between their mob boss, their father, if you will, Don Costella, and some other forces they didn't really count on. They're going to have to make some tough choices along the way. They don't all feel the same way about their superhuman abilities. And to all of the secrets intertwined in their individual pain means there's not going to be an easy way out. Featuring a cover by Amanke Welpon of DC Comics fame and interiors by Eduardo Mena, I know you're going to love this book. I know you will, because you won't be able to wait to see what happens next. Let's jump on in.
cool. I saw you did the music. You're a musician.
Yes, I did. Yes.
Wow. I wish I could play an instrument. I'm going to scroll down here. Look at your campaign. So, look at this. So, who's your artist? I missed.
I have 3 different artists. We have 3 different covers.
Okay.
The main cover is Amon K. Pond, that cover. And he's of DC Comics fame. He's done Green Lantern, Supergirl,
Okay.
you know, all kind of stuff for them. The interiors are by the team of Eduardo Mena on pencils and inks, and then Adriano Augusto on colors, and then Hector Negrete. Now, Hector just posted his work for DC on Facebook the other day. So I got a top-notch team on this book.
Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Yeah, this looks pretty good. The interiors. Yeah. Look at this. I hate when you have nice cover art and then you scroll down and you're like, oh, geez, this interior art by some, you know. Yeah. It's good job.
Yeah. It's got to be good on the inside as well.
Yep. Oh, wow. You could get drawn in by a werewolf. It's funny.
Yeah.
Brian Bow did that.
On the second book, we're definitely going to set it up to where you can be, we have different levels. You can be a character, a recurring character. You can be in a scene, a whole lot of different stuff.
Oh, cool. Here's all your characters. Okay, so they have, you got a mix of civilian names and superhero names. All right. Howl, perfect name. Biotech. Tell me about Biotech. What is his ability?
Biotech is in a wheelchair, but when he gets powered up, not only can he walk and run and jump, he can turn his wheelchair into a weapon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Crimson Cancer. Now there's a name you don't see.
You don't see that every day. That's
no.
So her power is when she's quote unquote normal, she has cancer. When she's powered up, she can throw cancer.
Oh my God.
So the Costellas that you see in the back, that's the mob boss family.
Right.
That's behind creating the Z Normals team.
Okay. So I guess it's part of the story. I guess I'm going to ask you questions and you're probably not going to want to spoil, but how do they discover this technology to unlock superpowers in people?
That will come out as the books come out and the story develops.
Right. I knew asking it that was going to be the answer, but I that could have been something that like, on the first page we explained that, you know. So
hey, I am a fan. So I write stuff that I want to read, and I know that we have a pedantic interest. We want to know all the details. How does this work? Who did what? What's the background? So all that's going to come out as the story unfolds for sure.
Okay, I see. You got a digital tier, which is good. You know, I don't know about you, but I like a floppy comic, but I had to offer a digital tier too. Just make it affordable. Just ship it to Canada is ridiculous. $15. Okay, all covers, A, B, and C. Nice, $40. Can't beat that. What is the Z player?
We have all the covers plus the digital plus trading cards.
Oh, I gotcha.
We have trading cards, and we also have some other goodies in there too.
Okay. The draw in tier.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then it's funny because like I was saying, Brian Bow, he had a tier where you could get killed by Wolf or Betsy, and people are like, could you make it as gruesome as possible? Like they just get a kick out of it.
Right.
Like, look, this is me getting disemboweled by a werewolf. So, here's my buddy David. How you doing, David? How's everything? So, how long have you been working on this comic?
How long I've been working on this comic? Oh man, years now. At least 2 years.
And you have other I know your Nucleus Comics. What else you got in your?
I have Nephilim Wars out 1 and 2. I have a book called Kryo Karito. That's a combination word that is Japanese and Greek. It means cold sword, and that's about a bunch of heroes on a fire planet, but they all have ice powers. So it's not exactly like the Legion of Superheroes, but it's a similar idea where you have people from different backgrounds or whatever, but they're all on this planet And their situation is a little bit different because they're under a monarchy, and so there's a lot going on there too. So I have that out already, and I have other stuff that I'm still working on. But this one I've been working on at least 18 to 24 months because, as you know, I mean, I don't have to tell you, when you put a comic together, you have to put together every aspect.
Oh,
Every single aspect is important. You can't ignore any one thing.
no, no. I tell you, man, it's, I mean, you're so right. I don't know how familiar you are with me and my channel, but I'm making a comic right now. It's called Heroic Tales #1. It did pretty well. And I got to say, the poop is hitting the fan right now for my comic. I'm talking with pre-press guy and to, talking with the printer. All this is going to happen. I have not slept in like 2 days. It's just, proofreading and checking. And I got Bill Williams is doing the lettering, and he's been doing extra work for me to just get everything. And I just been, I saw this mistake. And then I instantly get panicky and I send it to him and he fixes it. Then like an hour later, I saw this, and so, he's like, don't worry, calm down, yeah, but oh man. So yes, you're absolutely right. It's stressful. I mean, the fun part was writing the stories. Fun part was watching the art come in, watching the colors, watching the lettering. And right now I'm like, whatever I miss, this mistake is going to be in this comic book forever. And my family's going to tease me. And my friends are going to bust my chops. So yes, you're absolutely right. There's a lot of pressure because you got it, because it's me. I assume you don't have any full-time employees. It's all you, right?
I have partners and partnerships, but yeah, it's mainly me. But what you just described has been the last 2 weeks of my life. I have gone on what I call 24-hour mode.
Right.
And when you go on 24-hour mode, you have to use all 24 of your hours. You basically sleep when you can.
Right.
And you have to work until you get it done. And so that's been the last 2 weeks of my life to get ready for this launch, because it wasn't just the book, it's all the extras that we're offering on the campaign. And, you got to go through everything line by line. You got to be sure. So the trading cards, I have my artists draw the black and whites, and then I design the cards.
Okay.
So
you're an artist yourself?
Yes. And
wow,
so
you're a musician, artist, writer. Jeez.
Yeah. So I brought all my hats to this project.
Nice.
So so I did that, and I love those cards. But again, it's because I'm a fan. So like I make stuff that, if people are into it, stuff that fans would want. So
yeah, a Torchbearer who has his own comic coming out soon. Great artist. Pretty cool story for Z Normals. I can't say this word. Are statistics something you work with in normal life?
No, they're not. In normal life, I'm a writer, a musician, I'm a teacher. So it was a ton of
statistics.
no, I teach music business.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So no, that's not normally something I work with. It was something that I researched, and something that I thought was the perfect expression of what I'm trying to say with this team. Because, okay, one thing that happens in American pop culture is movies and TV teaches you to think in tropes.
Yep.
So you can go all the way back to last century and you will discover that so many of the tropes that people have been functioning off of were established in the 80s. Like one of my favorite examples is The Breakfast Club. A brain, a jock, a weirdo, a princess, a criminal, that kind of thing. And so it paints people with these broad brushes. Well, you're Black, so you must be this way. Or you're a teenager, you must think this way. Or you're whatever, you're a middle class, you must think this way. And so that's the way we're taught to think in this culture. I have always been against that, because I know that the human soul is much more complex than that. You are not just one thing, and you are not just your skin color, but we're taught to think that way. And so in my comics, I'm always pushing those boundaries. So Z Normals is like, if you already have a challenge, and you're already going to be isolated from mainstream society anyway. So what would it do to you psychologically if somebody says, we're going to take that thing that's been a source of ostracization for you and turn it into a superpower. And so that was kind of the thinking as to how the book evolved. But that's kind of how I think, because there's just so much more to people.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't do nothing. I didn't do nothing. I was really interested in this. His internet must have kicked out. But I was going to ask questions about the X-Men and things like that. But, oh, Dave's back. I didn't do nothing. I didn't kick you out. I was enjoying that.
I didn't do anything. I don't know what happened. Something just dropped. But anyway, so yeah, so human beings are so much more than those broad brushstrokes that we paint, that movies and TV teach us to paint people with. And so I thought, if you already have challenges of some kind, then you're already put in categories by society. But if you had a chance to flip that, and that very thing that's caused you that pain becomes a metahuman ability, what does that do to you psychologically? So that was my thinking, because again, I am just not down with this broad brushstroke type of thing. I'm really not.
Comics have a long history of oddballs banding together, most notably the Doom Patrol and X-Men.
Yes.
And I thought, it's funny because as I read the Doom Patrol, I'm like, they're not really that odd, but whatever. But and even the X-Men, they're all beautiful, gorgeous bodies. You know what I mean? Except for Beast or something like that.
Well,
but
not all of them. They
not all of them, but you know what I mean? Like Jean Grey, geez, girl's a supermodel,
Right.
But anyway, my point is that I think the X-Men's success has always been like, oh, we're different, we're ostracized, we're teased, we're whatever, marginalized, whatever cool word you want to use. And I kind of like that, because I always thought, like, comic books, one of the things that attracted people to comic books was it was a solo activity. It was something that people could do by themselves. I don't have to join a team to enjoy a comic book. Matter of fact, I don't have to do anything. I just go to a store. These days I can just order online and have it shipped to my house. But I'm talking about when I was a kid, and I sit at home and I read a comic book. And you would talk about tropes in the 80s. Back in the 80s, you read comic books, you were a nerd, you got teased.
Right.
I don't know about you. I'm assuming you and I are around the same age, that it was like you kind of didn't want to announce that you were reading comics. This was like like I said, a nerdy little thing. And I think we like the X-Men because, like, they're outcasts like me. I'm an outcast. And I think that was so good about the X-Men. They never really, like, mutants meant whatever. Like every kid, I don't care if you're in Zimbabwe, and I don't care if you're in France, the United States, every kid, especially when your body's going through these changes, you feel like an outsider, or and they like the X-Men because the X-Men were the outsiders, but they never really, it doesn't matter if you identified as an outsider, you were in with the X-Men. And I don't know, I thought that was so powerful. So is this what you're going for? Some sort of like a Z-normal? Are you specifically naming what makes these people different? Like, is it like, could the any man say, like, oh man, I could be a Z-normal, a Z, with a little bit of fantasy, I could be a part of this team.
There's not a commonality like a mutation. These are distinctly different people from distinctly different walks of life with distinctly different challenges. So what I'm going for is the idea of what would it do to you? And see, because everybody doesn't respond the same. That's another kind of theme running through the book, is that everybody doesn't feel the same way about being powered up. So as the books unfold, you'll get to know each characters and their backgrounds, but there's not the commonality of being a mutant. No, there's not that. It's more.
You said one guy, biotech, was in a wheelchair, and the other woman had cancer. So I guess the commonality is some sort of disability or some sort of
yeah.
What are some of the other disabilities that the other team member? Well, one guy's a wolf. You're not born a wolf. What happened to this guy?
Can't spoil that, but
I know. Sometimes it's
lycanthropy. We know what that is. We know, about werewolves. But I mean, it can be anything. It can be blindness. It could be uh, any disease you contracted. It could be something wrong with your bones. It could be anything. That's kind of the the whole hook of the book for me, and that is that if you take someone that up until this point has been struggling or dealing with whatever that thing is, like some people are born without certain things, like some people are born without arms,
Right.
or some people are, what if you're dealing with something like, dwarfism, or, what if you, like when you're dealing with dwarfism, you're only going to, be so tall, you're going to mature in every other way, but you're only that kind of thing. So it's more different challenges, different disabilities, different whatever, if you were born blind, you have never seen. If you were born seeing and you went blind, you have the memory of what stuff looked like. You just can't see it anymore. So what if somebody came along and let you see again? What's that do to you?
Right.
See,
Do you
so that's the
compromise
idea.
yourself? Do you now feel you're going to stick with the mob, because this guy's giving you the ability to overcome your deficiency?
Right.
Are you now loyal to a bad guy? I could see this is a pretty interesting premise.
Yeah.
And I imagine, again, I didn't read the comic, obviously, guys, but I can imagine this is like creating some dilemmas. I imagine some people just like, I can't work for this criminal anymore. I can't do this. I'll go back to being, crippled or whatever. And then somebody, I don't want this. I don't want this illness. I only have 6 months left to live. And if I kind of like, am I on the right track? Are these some of the things?
It's got a lot of innate moral and ethical dilemmas built in.
Like, I don't know, like, I live in New York, and around 9/11, everybody's like, if I was on that plane when those guys, I would have jumped up and I would have fought. And I used to get so mad. I lost one of my friends, and I used to get so mad. I'm like, no, you wouldn't. I said, what, all those people on that plane are bad people? They just sat there and shut up? I said, this never happened before. I said, maybe now, once the plane's 9/11 happened, maybe now we have, this we're going to die no matter what. We got to do something. But back then they were just like, okay, this is a hijacker. We're going to land someplace else. I don't want that. I'm getting too in the weeds with this. But my point being is, all these people always say, oh, I would do the right thing. I would do the right thing in this.
Right.
But I don't know. Like, of course, you, me, I'm sure we're going to say we would do the right thing, but I've never been in that situation. I ultimately have to, and the only answer that I could truthfully say is I don't know, because I haven't been in that situation. I don't know if you know about me, but I literally broke my neck a couple of months ago in a car accident.
Oh, wow.
I've been out of the neck brace for only a week now. I got the CAT scan yesterday. The doctor called me today, said nothing pressing. We'll continue with our regular, you're healing well. But she said she goes, you're very lucky. Your neck isn't just cracked. It's shattered. It could have broken off. You could have had a stroke. You could have had this. Now I could have been one of these people in the wheelchair. Now, what would I have done if your mob boss came up to me and said, I'll give you not only could you walk, but you got super speed and stuff.
Right.
But you got to steal this for me, and you got to do this for me. I don't know.
Right. You got it. That's definitely an idea. Now, there's something you mentioned earlier that I want to follow up on.
Sure.
And that is, what happens if you're a superhero and you're pretty? See, one of the reasons Superman can do what he does is because he looks like a white guy from Kansas, and he can blend in as a white guy from Kansas, even though he's an alien. You know who doesn't have that? Who doesn't have that is Martian Manhunter. So he has to turn himself into something to blend in, because he knows he won't be accepted. Same with Hawkman. Hawkman looks like a white guy from Thanagar, so he can blend in.
Yeah, and it's hard to blend in when you're a 7-foot tall green guy walking down the street.
Right. So what do you do if you're not already pretty? And so that's another issue when you're dealing with some type of disability or whatever, or some type of challenge, because people will slot you in a certain way, and they will let you know, this is what we think of you. And so, like I said, there's layers to this thing. And like you just said, going through a very intense personal experience. And what if somebody can give you a way out and not, you know, and the other thing is, you know, one of the reasons that Green Lantern is so hard to write for most people is because his powers are abstract.
Right. I don't know. I don't know if you've heard me say this before, but Green Lantern is one of my least favorite superhero characters because it's almost like the Wish. You could do whatever you want. And I need like Superman's powerful, but you know Superman's not just gonna turn into a ghost or split himself into multiple. You know what I mean? But Green Lantern could almost do anything, and I like a little bit more concrete to that. You know, that's why I like Spider-Man. I like Batman. Even the Flash. The Flash isn't just gonna start shooting power blasts and teleporting and stuff. He runs fast. You know,
See,
I agree with you.
That's my point. All those characters that you named and most of our most popular characters, one of the reasons that they're popular, and it might even be on a subconscious level for many, it's because their powers are visceral.
Right.
Superman does a lot of what we do. He just does it at a higher level.
Correct.
Now, we don't have things like heat vision, but we do have strength. And, you know, football players, we can take some punishment. We can't take bullets. We're not made of steel. But the Flash, those powers are visceral. Batman, everything he does is visceral. Spider-Man, that's visceral. That's why one of the reasons they're so powerful. And so when you're dealing with characters who their whole premise is in the abstract, because the lanterns are basically magic alien science.
Right.
That's completely abstract. And so,
I've heard a lot of people say they don't like Doctor Strange for that reason.
Or, you know, or Wanda Maximoff, you know.
Yeah,
first,
don't get me started on the walks, because most Stan and Jack envisioned this very particular set of powers for Wanda Maximoff, and then everybody else got it wrong. I'll that's my hill to die on. That is, everybody gets Wanda Maximoff wrong. But anyway, but you don't need to hear my rant about 40 minutes about that.
Well,
but I'm glad you agree in some level.
Well, I was good when it was just chaos magic, whatever that is. You know, I was good when it had some kind of limit.
Right. It was well defined. She gave, if you were her enemy, you got bad luck. If you were her friend, you got good luck. That was it. That's all you needed.
But then all of a sudden,
it's world shaking. She can cure mutants.
Wanda gets possessed, and then Wanda goes crazy, and then Wanda speaks one sentence and wipes out billions of lives. Really?
Yeah, I know.
So, you know, and then also what
the exception being it's Galactus and Watcher. They're supposed to be abstract and all powerful because, you know, they show up once every 5-6 years. That's fine.
But Galactus is not abstract. He's just hungry. Instead of a Reuben sandwich, he eat planets. That's all.
And David, don't bother him when you're hungry.
So I mean, you know, who was it? Grant Morrison said the reason he knows how to write Superman is because he has the same kind of things we do, just on a different level. So when we walk the dog, we go outside. When Superman walks crypto, he go to Mars.
Right.
Same idea. It's still a boy with his dog, still a man with his dog story. So yeah, so that's why with this particular team anyway, because I do have some other characters that are more abstract in other story worlds, but for this particular team, the root of what they're dealing with is concrete. It's something that other people have or other people have dealt with. And I also have to throw this in.
Sure.
I spent many years as a substitute teacher in public school. And so I ended up many times working with special needs kids. Now, I don't have special needs training, but they needed somebody to work with the kids. And every time I worked with some special needs kids, they were the sweetest kids. Oh, they were just the sweetest kids and just honest with me. And oh, Mr. Taylor this, and oh, Mr. Taylor that. And I remember them, and it was just so great. And I remember my heart going out to them because I felt the love in their souls, but there was a challenge in their bodies. See, that's visceral. That's real. That's something you've either experienced or something you've seen.
I was a public school teacher too, and I have the same exact. I had kids that were pleasant and nice, and I love them to death. Mm-hmm. But the kids that I miss were the troubled kids, because I don't know if it's just human nature or if I had to spend more time with them. You know what I mean? I don't know what it is, but I miss my troubled students, not troublemaker students. I'm saying troubled.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
You know, but some of these kids I miss. You know, I taught preschool, and there was some kids that just had behavioral problems that, oh my God, like I'm wondering if it would be okay if I looked up their parents and, I haven't seen your kid in 32 years. How's he doing? You know what I mean? I don't even remember you, but I still think of this kid. It's literally 32 years later. I wonder how he's doing,
Well, I had an experience where there was a young man that they said had a learning disability. And so they assigned me to him. As I worked with him, I saw him do his work. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with this young man. This young man is perfectly fine. So I talked to him. I said, why did you let them put you in this slot while you're doing this? He said, he pointed to the teacher. He said, Mr. Taylor, does she look like me? You think she understands me? You think she understands my life? But you look like me. This is a young black boy. Said, you look like me, so I'm happy to work for you. I was like, wow.
I had a kid in my class, Mohapi. Maybe I shouldn't have said his name. His mother was a nun. His father was a priest. And this forbidden romance, they were from South Africa.
I was going to say, his mom was a nun? How'd that happen?
Yeah. Nuns and priests can do it too. Birds. Yeah. They got kicked out of their respective orders.
Wow.
And they left South Africa, a little black kid with red curly hair. Most striking kid I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen a kid look like him before. And this kid was just trouble. And he used to frustrate me, and I used to get so mad. And then it dawned on me that this kid was just bored. So I asked him, I was like, well, are you bored? And he didn't know how I think he thought that I was going to get him in trouble. I was like, so come here. So I went and I got some 6th grade books. This was the 3rd grade class. And I said, here, try these books out. Sit in the back. Don't let anybody bother you. And tell me what you think. And he was into it. He was doing math problems. He liked math. So, So it dawned on me, this kid was too smart. And I went to the principal and I said, just like I'm not qualified to teach special ed, I'm not qualified to teach gifted kids. I'm qualified to teach a normal class. This kid's, I said, I have no problems admitting that he is smarter than me. So I called in his mom, and his mom was crying. She thought I was going to yell at her. And I was like, no, this kid, he's got to be in a gifted class. Because I was saying he needs to be in another class. So she automatically assumed he was in trouble again. I was like, no, this kid. And the school fought me. Everybody fought me until I got him a standardized test, and he scored one of the highest scores in Queens. And next thing you know, gifted programs were courting this kid. And then it was funny to watch all the principals tell me that I was crazy. I didn't know what I was doing, and then all of a sudden, this kid became like the cause celebrity by all the teachers. But yeah, little, striking kid, brown skin, red hair, blue eyes. It was he's like a mutant. I've never seen a kid look like him before, ever since. Smartest kid. And I talked to him up until 6th grade, and he's in all of these gifted programs. But nothing bad. But I'd like to think if it was any, because I was also the youngest teacher. I was the newest teacher at the school. It was my 2nd year teach. That all the other teachers probably would have just written him off as a troublemaker.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But anyway, this has nothing to do with what we're talking. But I just
but that's the same idea. The same idea is when society has made assumptions about you and don't even bother to get to know you.
Because he was smart enough to wind up other kids. Like he was going to be like a gang leader. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Right. And so you've got to make choices about that. And like I said, it has very strong built-in moral and ethical dilemmas, because you do have to make real choices, and choices come with consequences. And that's another thing. That's another thing we as human beings struggle with. We struggle with the idea of fairness, because fairness is not real. Fairness is a human concept. It's not real. There is no corner of reality where all creatures have the same circumstances, the same gifts, and the same outcomes.
My brother is 6'4". I'm 5'8", man. Ain't nothing fair about that.
So what people
come from the same house, the same family, same mother, same father. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What people mean is, I don't have something that I do want, or I do have something that I don't want. And then I see somebody else with it, and then I say that's not fair. But there's no law that says you're supposed to have it. Whatever it is you're looking at, There's no law that says you're supposed to have that. What you got is what
You're
you
as a
got
teacher, you must have heard that 16 times a day. That's not fair. That's not. And I used to
all the
tell
time.
the kids, nothing's fair. Who promised you fairness?
Right, right. It's a human concept. It does not actually exist. There's
Right.
no corner of reality that you can go to.
And you know what? All kidding aside, once you abolish that concept of things should be fair, it's very liberating.
Oh yeah.
You can make your life very peaceful. You know what I mean? Like
Well,
you have a crowdfunding right now. It's human nature to compare your campaign to other people's campaigns. I know I launched on the same day as other people, and I'm like, this guy did twice as good as me. Should I have complained and said that's not fair? No. You know what I mean? Like all I know is yesterday I had 0, and today I got 235 backers. You know what I mean? So is that fair? I don't know.
Well, the way life is actually set up is that it's set up all creatures according to its gifts. So the vulture is not pretty, so it doesn't get to be on a dollar bill or a presidential seal like the eagle.
Right.
Okay. The vulture is part of the death squad. There are creatures that feed off death. They eat carrion, and that's what vultures do. They not presidential. Ain't gonna be no video about the vulture.
No, you don't want to hear a politician comparing himself to a vulture.
Right. So even if especially if that's apt.
Even though it's more apt than eagles. Yes, I agree with you.
So
I'm not a big fan of politicians.
So, the same system that houses the butterfly houses the bullfrog. See, there's no fairness. Is you got what you got. And it's your job in life to take what you got and maximize that potential.
Absolutely.
And so, like I said, so part of my thinking in developing the book is that what if that thing that either you thought it was always in your way or the people told you it was in your way, and you find out it's not really in my way, because then you have to redefine yourself. Because most of the time when you have a challenge, whether you want to or not, you define yourself around that challenge, and society defines you around that challenge as well. But what is your self-image? And so there's just a whole bunch of layers I'm going to be dealing with in this book.
All your comics, so they set the same world? Like
No.
Okay.
No. Do they have a shared universe? No, they're all different. Nephilim Wars is set in the same world as Lucifer, Soldier, Serpents, and Sin, which is the real world, our world, because that's a story world about how did Lucifer become Satan and how did he fall from heaven and how did we get involved? Because that's what people always want to know. People always want to know, if God is such a good God and God is so loving, why is there so much evil in the world? So I deal with those questions. So that's that setting.
All of your comics have these grand philosophical explorations.
Yeah, I suppose they do.
Yeah.
And Kurio Kanito is set in a fictional world because it's a fictional fire planet, but everybody got the ice powers, but there's a lot more going on there too. And then Z-Normals is set in semi-real world in the future.
Okay.
So it's not too far from now. And, it's got towns like, San Angeles and stuff like that. So it's kind of quasi real world future, but not so much so until it's fantastical.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're making a comic book, so this is a dumb question to even ask, but you're a longtime comic book fan, right?
Yes.
I mean, I can't imagine just like, I've never read a comic book before in my life. I'm gonna make. Have you ever read a comic called 100 Bullets?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't help but think, for those of you who are watching, we got a bunch of people watching. 100 Bullets is this. I can't remember the character's name, but he would show up with a suitcase and 100 bullets and a gun, and he would say, David, this is the person who ruined your life. Here's all the evidence that John's Longbox killed your family, ruined your business, did this, blah, 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 blah. And here's 100 bullets that are untraceable by whatever technology. So you can literally go and kill this guy and get revenge.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing anybody could do about it. And that's what the comics is. Like, some people just like, no, I moved on. I don't want revenge. And some people are like, yeah, I want to kill. And then they end up becoming worse than that. But it's a comic that explores, human nature. And it sounds like you know, this is not the same premise, but it sounds like the same thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like in my job as a construction worker, we have a saying, like, you want to see what somebody's like, make them the boss.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, so David, me and you are working together, then you get promoted and you're like, yelling and screaming and you turn into a jerk. Like, you were always a jerk, but now the power turned. So I wonder, is that like a theme that you're exploring? Like,
well, the mob boss that's behind all this is, you know, a mafia don, and he's got his family and he's got his rivals and he's got his desires in terms of territory, but it's more complicated in terms of the players on the board because he's got the Z Normals team. And so, you know, is he going to use that to his advantage? Of course he will, but do they all agree? Do they think that way? You know, what does his family think is an issue? And so it's more like, what would you do? You'll be able to find somebody, in the story, even if you don't have the same challenges they do, you'll be able to find a perspective that you can relate to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Now, is this a short story? Is this a one shot? You going to keep going?
Oh, no, I'm going to keep going. I have several issues already done. I can't wait to get them out.
Oh, cool. How long? So, well, you're doing this campaign right now, you know, that's pretty good. So what do you like, 10 issues or ongoing?
I have to see if it's going to end up being a limited series, which would be 10 to 12 issues. Basically, the way I write, I want to be sure I get out everything that I want to say. And then you kind of have to reevaluate. If you notice in a lot of the media content we consume now, you can see the change when a TV show changes writers or leadership, or when a movie franchise changes or stuff like that. So the question for me is, have I said everything I wanted to say? And hopefully I said it well. Then at that point, we reevaluate, you know, is it time to let somebody else tell stories? Is it time to retire this idea? Is it time? Because the whole thing about writing, man, is that when you're fresh and excited, that comes through.
Right.
And I'm so excited about this. Everybody that I've talked to said they can just, you know, feel it when they talk to me because I'm so excited about this. But when you are fresh and excited, that pours into the writing. And so you always want to kind of do that. You know, when you get stale, then the writing gets stale.
Right. A couple of people, and I'm not naming names because I'm not here to hurt anybody's feelings, but a couple of people say, hey, you know, you want to jump on this project with me? And I turned it down because I'm so excited about my own stuff that I don't want to half-ass their stuff. Mm-hmm. That's not fair. So I totally agree with you. You know, and I say the same thing. People ask me how many issues you want to do Heroic Tale. Well, it's a traditional superhero story that could go on forever, but the moment that I feel like I'm half-assing it, I have a definite ending in mind, and I'll use that. But well, yeah, I agree. If you're not excited.
Well, my favorite example, how did I find my artist?
There you go.
And I started working on the book. Okay.
Torchbearer's asking if you need any artists. He's a fabulous artist.
Okay. Well, tell him to send his links to my email.
There you go. And at that,
it's nucleuscomics@gmail.com.
Okay. So, nucleuscomics@gmail.com.
Yeah. So send some links so I can check it out. So how I found them was I put some advertising out on different boards looking for artists, and I talked to different people that work with different comic artists, and I basically networked through social media and my personal relationships with people. So they were not longtime friends, and I started them. You know, I'm not dealing with artists until I get my scripts done. So I always have my scripts done, and then I find the thing about working with an artist is, okay, every writer is different.
I'm busting his chops. I know he's working on his own comic. I'm just busting a buddy's chops.
I am much more like a director. So when I envision something, I see the whole thing. That's why I can relate to James Cameron. Because James Cameron, when he directs something, he sees the whole thing. So I can
Right.
see the whole thing. I think about angles, the angles of the shots. I think about perspective and distance, color schemes. I think about everything. So I'm much more like a director. So I have
You know, it's
worked.
funny that you said that. I'm sorry to cut you off, but you just made me think of something. I wrote a script. I
Mhm.
gave it to my artist. My artist started. He sent me back, I think, 3 pages at the same time, and I was looking at it, and I was talking to exactly what you talk about, angles and perspective and stuff like that. And my other friend goes, "Guess what? You're an art director now."
That's right. That's
Never
right.
thought of
So
it. I'm an art director now.
the whole key to working with artists is you have to find someone that can realize your vision
Absolutely.
with some kind of fidelity to where you see it and hear. And I've discovered a wide range of experience with artists. Some artists will draw whatever you tell them to and draw it till they get it right. Some artists say, well, I want some input on this. Like, I read what you said, but I think it should go like this. And some artists just want the script. They just want the words on the page and they say, just let me do what I want to do. So
So let me ask you: do you do a full script? You know, like I'm you're a comic book guy, so like you got Stan Lee on one side that was like, just go do it, and then you got Alan Moore on the other side that like writes like a chapter for each panels. Where would you stand in that spectrum?
Oh, much more on the Alan Moore side. So yeah, no, I write everything. I've got my panels laid out. I've got the angles of the shots laid out.
Okay.
I got backstory for my characters, that kind of thing, and you got to write the dialogue. So you've got to find an artist that again can translate what you're trying to do with some sort of fidelity. The closer they can make it look to how you see it when you're that kind of writer, or also, excuse me, if you're open, if they can elevate, because really, really good artists, just like really, really good actors, if you've ever
Right.
seen a veteran actor, even if the material may be somewhat mediocre or bland, a good actor can infuse it with a level of life that's
Absolutely.
just incredible.
The example I always give is watch Harrison Ford in the first Star Wars movie. His dialogue was crap, and he made it memorial.
He made
Any
it
other actor
incredible.
delivering those lines, we'd be laughing.
And also, another one of my favorite examples is the Flash TV show. When you watch, especially that first season, but when you watch the Flash TV show, you will see that it's the veteran actors. Not that there's anything wrong with the young actors, not what I'm saying at all, Grant and Candace and Danielle and them, but I'm saying it's Jesse L. Martin, Tom Cavanaugh, and John Wesley Shipp. When they're doing their roles and their lines and their parts, they so elevate. The Flash is 3 dads. It has bio dad, he had his stepdad, adoptive dad, then he had his science dad. And those veteran actors, Tom Cavanaugh, Jesse L. Martin, and John Wesley Shipp, they so elevate the material. And the Flash first season was about fathers and sons.
Okay.
Barry had 3 fathers, and them veteran actors, man, they brought it. They brought it big time. And so I'm saying that to say that when you're working with an artist, it's the same thing. If they can take your concepts and what you're doing and elevate it to a new level, that's cool. But some artists are more like, I just want to do what I want to do. And so in my experience, I have to find artists that are willing to work with me because I have very specific ideas in mind. It's not that I'm closed,
Well,
but
you're paying the bills.
right.
Ultimately, you're paying the bills.
Right.
I work with Renzo Rodriguez, and we're almost telepathic because I'll send him a script, and I'm not going to pat myself in the back and say that I make everything crystal clear. He Spanish is his first language, but oh man, when he just sent me back a page today, and I'm like, this is what I pictured.
Mm-hmm.
It's incredible. Like two or three times I asked to change things. It was just so minor, and then a few times I sent him a script, and I think there was 4 panels on the page, but when I got it back, there was 7 panels. That's a big change, but it was so much better, And he said, "Yeah, I thought about this. Is this okay?" And I was like, "This is better than what I thought." So, yeah, I'm a little bit. This is what I want. This is what I want. But when you work with somebody talented, you got to trust them too, And
right. Well, if I have a panel and somebody's striking with a sword, I can tell you, do I want to see it from behind them? Do I want a front-facing shot? Is it an either side shot? I have designed the sword, so I know what kind of sword it's like. I've designed the hilt.
Oh, so do you draw pictures and send to them?
And I understand the angle of the strike.
Okay.
So I see it a certain way in my head. So I'm not open to expanding, but if I definitely see, because perspective is everything with two-dimensional art.
Right.
Perspective is everything. And so if we're looking at it from their point of view, or if we're looking from a top-down shot, or what if the person they're going to hit, what if they're looking up at them with a sword hanging over them? All that makes a difference in terms of panel flow and story flow. And so I've thought about that. And so I like to work with people that understand that, because comics are a visual medium, and it's got a flow from panel to panel.
Have you ever gotten a page and you were like, this is different than I pictured, but damn, this is good?
That would be more the exception than the rule.
Okay. So I take it you've got it different and you didn't like it a few times.
Yes. Okay. That's happened more often than not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, you know, if something is going on and I've written it as a close-up, then I want to see a close-up. I don't want to see a far shot. There's a reason I want to see the close-up, because just like in the movies, when you do a close-up on the actor's face, you can see all the emotions playing on the face, right. But then when you zoom back out, it's
supposed to be emotional, yeah.
Right, something could be different in the background. Horror does that all the time. And so, and down here for me, like, yeah. So I'm saying, so there's a reason, there's a method to my madness. And so if someone can elevate it and show me it might work better this way, I'm definitely down with that. But like I said, I pretty much
one time I wanted to change something that I thought was a big deal. It wasn't major, but it was a big deal to me.
Uh-huh.
And I had a dilemma now, like, you know, this technically he drew everything that I asked. So do I didn't know how artists work. So I'm like, does he have to draw a whole new page? Do I have to pay him for a whole new page? Like, this was like, I could live with it, but I don't want to live with it, because so I contacted Renzo and I'm like, is it a big deal? He's like, okay. And I forgot it was digital. He said it was 3 taps and he fixed it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, like a light bulb went off in my head. It's not a big deal. I could change things now.
Okay, but that's not always the case. So you hit on 2 important points.
Okay, go ahead.
The first point is, some things you can't see it until you see it.
Right.
It looks a certain way in your head, but then when you see it on the page,
okay, I agree.
It looks different. So some things you don't get till you see it. Second thing is, some artists still draw very traditionally. So they do not use digital pads. They do not use digital stuff. They draw by hand. And when you're dealing with artists that are still drawn by hand, they don't want to redraw.
Right. It's a big deal.
Thing. Right. So my approach is always like, then we need to get it right on the sketch level. So just do some sketches. And then we'll just do sketches until I say, okay, that's it. So when you're dealing with digital stuff, they can do, like you said, but when you're dealing with artists that still draw the traditional way, and they draw on canvases and they draw with paper and inks and stuff like that, they do not want to.
Right.
They're much more reticent to redo. Like, once you pull the whole thing back and I look at it, I'm like, this would be better like that. I can
only compare it to, I'm at work, I'm a construction worker, and we're putting up pipes. And the foreman would be like, take that pipe. And they always do the same thing. They just make a line with their hand. Take that pipe, go like this. Put it over there. I'll see you tomorrow. Because it takes all day. We're taking the pipe, we do this. And then we come in then tomorrow. He's like, oh, no, I didn't want it to go like that. I wanted to go like, but I followed his words directly, but my mental picture of his, and it just is frustrating to disassemble it all, take it all apart, and then do it a different way. I mean, it's more difficult than redrawing a superhero flying through the space, but you know what I mean? Nobody wants to do the same thing twice. So, yeah.
Okay, so
my thing for the foreman is explain it properly the first time.
Well, the movie Aliens?
Yeah.
So, when they're in the hive, they kill the woman who got exploded by the chest burster, and then the rest of the aliens in the hive wake up. Okay, as I think it's Dietrich is walking past, she walks past a wall, and then behind her, you see the alien was curled into the wall,
yep.
And then it came alive and grabbed her. Now, if you're going to do that in 2 dimensions, you have to draw it in such a way to where the audience can see the thing in the background, and then they see it come alive. So that's another reason why, if that's what I'm going for, we got to see that in the panels, because that's the whole point of that kind of shot.
Yep. Yeah. So that just brings it. I try to be as clear, and because sometimes he takes that and goes over here. Like, I try not to use pronouns. Like, when I'm writing a script, I'll say, like, David grabs John by the throat and then David throws John down the steps. Because if I say David grabs John by the throat and then he throws him down the steps, there's a good chance that the wrong guy's getting thrown down the steps.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
right.
yeah. So I like I say, I may be dumb, but I ain't stupid. I'll make every mistake in the book, but I'd like to think that I learned. Like, you sounds like you got a couple of successful campaigns under your belt, so good for you, man. This is my first campaign, and oh my god, like you said, 24-hour mode. Last night I was waking up. I went to bed at 3:00 in the morning. I was talking with one of the guys on my team, and I'm like, could you fix this? Could you fix this? Could you fix it? And then he said, John, give me a list tomorrow of everything you want fixed, because
Right.
and I'm like, oh, I didn't think of how annoying I was, and I was being annoying, and he was absolutely.
But
so
some things you don't see until you see them. That's not
right.
Annoying.
So I said, you know what? Give me 24 hours. I'm gonna adjust, and I'll give you one. And he goes, perfect. But yeah, again, I'll make every mistake in the world. I'm on 24-hour mode, and then I woke up. I went to bed at 3:00 in the morning. I woke up at 8:00 in the morning. Like, I got to make sure that this. I got to make sure that everything I asked for, he had fixed while I was asleep, because he's a professional and I'm a crazy person. So we've been talking for an hour. Is there anything that there was a question that I wanted to ask you, but we kept getting distracted. Okay. Cliff Woodbury asked, I love statistics, charts, data, and I hope that is shown in the comics. Yeah, you can't have statistical name and not have any statistics in the comic.
Right. Well, that's definitely a part of it. And there's definitely some sciencey things going on. I'll put it that way without spoiling anything.
Yeah, it's hard to ask questions sometimes. I want to spoil so much. I want to spoil. So I said, I have the digital files for my comic already, and it's getting prepped for printing. So I sent the digital files out to a couple of my buddies just guys, give me eyeballs. Is everything make sense? Like, if you want to tell me that the comic is good, but I'm asking, like, is the word spelled? Did everything make sense? Blah 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 blah. And now I forgot what I was. They're asking me questions. Why did this happen? Why did that girl? And I'm like, I'm not spoiling it. I want to spoil it, but I'm just asking you, like, is the grammar okay? Is there a coloring mistake that makes it unclear? But I guess that's good. People want to know. And I tell you, man, I'm like a little kid. I want to tell everybody what's going to happen in my comic the next 10 issues, but then I ruined it, right? You're good. You're tight-lipped. I ask you a couple questions and you're like, nope.
Got to read the story. The story is going to tell you.
So again, is there anything that you would like to bring up that I didn't bring up?
If you could show my campaign again,
sure.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So we got all kinds of goodies for you. We got 3 covers by 3 incredible artists.
Oh yeah, let's go down the tier. Why is this not working? Okay, I'll bring this to the top and we'll work our way to the bottom. So here we go.
Right. So you can make a pledge without receiving anything.
Right.
First tier is digital. You get a PDF, and then you get a physical cover, cover A, that's the main cover. And then it goes from there. You got cover B, which is our variant, our first variant. Then you got cover C, which is that cover you see by Dave Yukovich.
Okay.
Incredible artist. We also have a poster like that. And then as you go into it, you get all the covers digitally, so you can have the full thing. And then as you go down, we have trading cards.
Nice.
We actually have trading cards for the different characters. And I was really excited about designing those. I love doing that. And then we started getting into the tiers where you can start getting drawn in the book.
get murdered.
So with the second issue, you can start appearing, and then you know, you can die really spectacularly. And then we have the baller level where you just get everything. I want all the books. I want all the covers. I want all the cards. I want all everything, because there's other goodies in there I haven't talked about yet.
Nice.
So we're going to be revealing those as the campaign goes on.
Nice. I wonder about that. How well would that go over with my comic? Get you on in the comic. That would be fun. That's something to think about. But there we go. That good luck, man. You know, like I said, we covered a couple of good topics. I like the premise of your book. I liked when we were talking about fairness and such. And then I philosophy of being the guy who's ultimately responsible for a comic. Heavy is the head who makes the comic book.
It's a lot to do. It's a lot to do.
Oh man, I joked around and a couple of people got like a little not annoyed, but they're like, "Are you upset?" I joked around. I said I wouldn't have done it had I known how difficult I'd still do it. That's, you know, I was joking around when I said that, but I guarantee issue number 2 will be less of a bumpy ride, man. This was such a learning curve. But what is this? Your third, fourth campaign?
3.
3.
Yeah.
Oh, you're an expert. Yeah, you're an expert.
I wouldn't go that far. But I wouldn't go that far, but yeah. So I'm happy with what I'm doing. I mean, you know, this is what I want to do, and like I said, when I'm dealing with creative projects like this, I get to bring all my hats to the table, all my creative writing, all my visual art, on my music, just you name it. I can bring it when I'm doing stuff like this. So I love it. Can't get enough.
Do you also fulfill the comics? You mail them off to the customers?
Yes. Because
that's the next step, man. I am
right.
I'm not as good. That to me, I think it's going to be fun because it's physical. I'm a physical person. I'm a construction worker. Like picking up the comics, putting them in bags, giving them a sticker, writing the address of that. But right now, this computer making PDFs and getting the file. Oh my God, I feel so out of my element right this. Right. Thank God I got reliable people that are working with me.
Well, I want to give a shout out to Ink. I want to give a shout out to Ink Studios and Kevin Gillette. They're actually my marketing team on this, and so they're going to actually do the physical thing, because normally I've done it in the past, but they're actually going to do the mailing out. But that's the most important thing. Once people have decided to support you, you obviously want to get the stuff in their hands that they paid for. It's super, super important. So Kevin Gillette and Ink Studios helped me set this one up and everything. So they're going to be doing that. But, you know, once you grow to a certain point, you can't do it without partners. It's not possible.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So,
I could. Yeah. I couldn't do any. I unbelievable how much I didn't know. You know, every step of the way, everybody who helped me
it's a learning experience, no doubt.
But that was good fun talk, man. Come back when you got your next campaign. You know, we'll talk again. This is a lot of fun.
Awesome. Right? I had a great time. Thank you so much, John. I appreciate it.
No problem. Everybody, go check out the Z Statistical and Nucleus Comics. And I'm sure I just murdered the name of the comic.
It's Z Normal.
Z Normal. Z Statistical. Yeah. There you go. You don't know what you don't know. Yeah, and I don't know lots of things. But you know what? My next campaign will be a lot smoother. All right. Thanks a lot, everybody. I'm going to go have my dinner now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What is going on?